So I have a dog. His name is Jarvis. This here is Jarvis. Say hi, Jarvis. Can you say hi? Jarvis is awesome. He is super adventurous. He's fearless. He wasn't even fazed remotely by the rift that I accidentally opened to the banana dimension. He just does his thing. We even had an instant where he got himself onto a raft and he was floating out in the water and he was enjoying himself. Took a minute to get him back in. We eventually got him. He was fine, obviously. You just saw him. He loves the outdoors, and we've got some snow on the ground out here. And when there's snow, he loves to just go nuts, run around, stick his head in the snow like he's an ostrich. He loves the snow. He loves to play in the snow. It's one of his favorite things. Now, when I bring him out there to play in the snow or otherwise, I put him on a leash. And recently I decided that I was sick of the old game of just leaving the leash on the ledge where I used to leave it next to the door. It started to feel archaic. That's old school. We don't need that anymore. We have a 3D printer at our disposal and design software. We can make a special holder just for the leash. Started off with a rectangle, and now this rectangle is going to be the top part of this thing. It's going to span over the ledge that's already there. Now, one side of this thing is simply going to be to sort of grab the ledge. The other side's going to be the holster for the leash, and we'll get there. But for now, boom, we've got our edge piece. And since the piece going over the top doesn't need to necessarily be solid, we can easily just cut some material out of it and save some of that plastic. So we put some cutting objects in the middle and bam, there we go. So we have our top and our one side. What do we do about the part that actually holds the leash? This thing's going to be made out of a cylinder. And the cylinder, again, doesn't need to be solid all the way through. We don't need it on the one side that faces the wall because the wall's there to add stability. I wanted to leave it on the other side just so there would be a solid wall to it. So that's what we've got. We've got a cylinder with one side filled in, one side cut out, and the middle is cut out along with that side. We need to be able to actually holster the leash inside of this thing. So we put in some other cylinders perfectly placed and we merge it together to make that cut. We add a little piece jutting out to give it some extra back pressure against the ledge. That way it has more stability. And now we have to attach this thing to the piece we made that goes on the other side and on the top. So we're going to use the old tongue and groove method of doing this. So on the holster side, we've got a real thin rectangle sticking out, and that will correspond with a very similarly sized cutout on the other side. So these two pieces can just slot together. So we get it over to the printer and we've got our holster and we've got our top and side. And then they just go together nice and simple like that. And we've got our leash caddy. And now I have an official dedicated spot to hang up the leash so that when I go take him out, I can clip him in, grab the leash and go. Then when I come back inside, I can hang the leash up and unclip him. And it's as simple as that. So here's the thing with Jarvis. Jarvis is an animal, and like any other animal, he has to eat. And also like any animal, when he eats, his body digests the food and then it has to produce waste. And because I myself am not a piece of waste, when he does that, I pick it up off the ground. Now, at first I thought that was really gross and I hated it, but eventually I figured out that you can use a bag. It makes the process a little better. But the thing is, there's always extra rolls of bags laying around. The roll of bags that I'm actively using is on the leash itself, and that one's fine. But what do I do with all the extra ones that I have? Rather than throwing them in a basket or leaving them in the packaging from the store, I decided to come up with a solution for that too. So this is a battery holder. This is not something that I designed, but it's one of the first things that I printed. I found the model online and downloaded it and printed it. And this has compartments to put the batteries in the top. And then there's an angle so that the batteries can fall down so that when you grab a battery, the next battery falls in and it's ready to be dispensed next time you need a battery. So I was inspired by this design and I thought I'd create something like it for the bags. So we've got a rectangular column here, and you can see we've got the slope that leads to a cutout that the rolls of bags can be pulled out through. It's open on the top so the new bags can be dropped in. These sidewalls don't need to be solid, so same concept as the top of that leash caddy I just did. We can put some objects inside to make cuts, save material. Now the first version of this I made the walls a little too thin, and it didn't turn out. So I created a second version, and the walls were still a little bit too thin. Same problem. Version 3 is actually where I took it from 5 of these gaps down to 3 on each side, made everything a little bit thicker, including the walls, and this one is nice and solid. But I had to do a version 4. See, on the design, I have this lip on the bottom so that the rolls don't just shoot out of the bottom when you put a new one in. And somehow, when I printed this, that part wasn't there. Completely my fault. I just couldn't tell you what I did to make that happen. So even though everything else about the design is awesome, when I put a roll in, that's no good. So I ended up having to print version 4 that included the lip, and I made a couple other minor adjustments to increase stability. So now we've got our bag roll holder apparatus thanks to my genius design and my 3D printer. I usually buy these things in bulk, so we just load it up. That works really well. And when you pull a roll out of the bottom, the next ones fall just like that. And it's exactly what I needed it to be. So those are a couple things that I've designed to keep around the house to help me, I guess, take care of the dog. And I'm glad you all got to meet Jarvis. Him and I both really appreciate you for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up down below. Don't forget to subscribe so you know about the next video. And I look forward to seeing you there.